I'm Bo. Hello. Welcome everybody to our webinar today. I'm Australian. I live and work in Malaysia. I've been a teacher and an educator for over 25 years, international schools, primary and secondary, working in both areas. Today's all about primary, and happy to have a lovely sharing time with all of you. And this is my co-host, Sherry.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry here. Yeah, I've been with LeapEd for about near 2 years right now. Yes. I've been an English teacher, and then I've been teaching in some universities, mainly English and also soft skill subjects. So, and for now, I've been, doing CPD programs most of the time. So, yeah, I'm excited to share, some examples of how to do PBL today with all of you.
Lovely. Thanks, Sherry.
And
okay, we have now hit my imposed deadline of 10:35. So according to the Zoom settings, the best way to keep these meetings secure is to lock them once they're started. So I'm going to lock the room now, which means that there will be no more participants, but obviously we are recording this session and it will be available after. So if anyone misses out, that's why. And without much further ado, I'm going to pass over to Bo. Okay, there you are, Bo.
Okay, thank you. Apparently now I'm the host. Not yet. I'm still
Not yet. I've got to lock the room first.
Okay. Dun dun dun. Alrighty, folks. So welcome. Hope you're all surviving through everything that we're going through at the moment. Hope you're all okay. Right. Thanks, Haley, for all your help here with setting all this up and getting us all organized. Thank you so much. So apparently now we're all in, and welcome. Alrighty. So I'm going to see if I can share my, oh dear, where are we? I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you guys, actually. Right. Just finding. Can you see anything at the moment? Can you see? Are you able to see anything at this point? Yes, can see. Awesome. All right. So make it, don't fake it. Strategies for engaging primary students in project-based learning. So welcome everyone. I hope you're all in the correct webinar today. So thank you very much. Okay. So if you've got any questions today, type them in the group chat box to the right of your screen, and Sherry and I will try to answer as many as we can during the Q&A part of the session at the end. We are recording the session for training and quality control purposes. If you don't wish to be seen, you're welcome to turn off the camera on your device, but you'll still see myself and Sherry. And you're welcome to participate with the emoticons. There's a thumbs up, there's a clap, and there's a raise hand feature in the group chat down the bottom there. You can find those in the emotions. And we'll share the link to the session evaluation form in the group chat at the end of the session. And we'll also email you the link after the session, because we value your feedback and we will work to improve our services for future participants based on your suggestions that you have. Okay. Alrighty, we all okay with that? Can I get a thumbs up just to see if people understand what I'm talking about? Do we get a thumbs up? I can see some thumbs up. Just looking to see some thumbs up. There we go. There's some thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. So let's start off with this one. Share some love. Let me see if we've all got people out there. Show me a heart. Show me some love. You all need some love as well. You're all working hard. You're all doing amazing things out there in the world. Show some love. We got any hearts going? Yeah, we got some hearts showing. That's awesome. The reason that I'm asking you to do that is because the next thing I want you to do, have a look around the room where you are. You don't have to move, don't have to go there. Just have a look around. Are there items around you that you could use to draw a heart shape? You just made one with your hands. Would you be able to draw one? Just have a look around you. What have I got? I could draw one. I could make a heart shape on a piece of paper, maybe. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Maybe there's somewhere else in the house you could grab something if you had to go run around. Now, what if you had to turn that heart shape into a heart-shaped card? Would you be able to turn it into a little card to give to someone? Who's it for? Could the little heart-shaped card of love be for someone at home with you? Or is it for someone you'd like to make a little card to spread some love to someone who isn't at home with you right now? Have a think. If you're making a little heart card, what would you write inside of that card? What words could you write? What pictures could you draw inside that sweet little card heart? And how could you share that little card with someone who's not at home with you? A thought may be, what if you had a Zoom meeting and you held it up, or you took a photo or send it on WhatsApp? Or maybe you also need to change the message inside the card for different people. Or maybe you think, oh, I'm not really good with cards, but I can maybe do a dance, make a video, sing a song to send out some love to someone that I'm caring about that isn't with me right now. Now, if you were a primary child at home and you were given this task with a really simple design brief, think about what skills they'd be using. They'd have spatial awareness, logic, like where have I got, what can I use? Fine motor coordination with hands, fingers, maths. Maybe they want to make it bigger than the size of their hands. They want to make the card bigger. They've got to measure things. Bit of problem solving, language, writing, real world application, art and craft, thought processes, empathy, caring about others, using technology, bit of an offline activity so they're not totally involved with you or with other people, just online, creativity and communication. So all of this little idea, little starter, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's just one small, simple example of a way to make it, not fake it, and to engage primary students in project-based learning. Okay, hopefully in your Zoom chat, I'm going to ask if you, little quick poll, and you might have a yes or a no function there. How many of you have been involved or been doing project-based learning with your primary students before? Give me, if you want in the chat box, you can just put a yes or Y for yes or an N for no. So there's our slide. So have you used project-based? We're going to call it PBL now. Have you used it before? Yes or no? Oh, I've got some things happening. Okay. All right, so with the spread of COVID-19, the world appears to be coming to terms with what has become a new normal. Quarantine, lockdown, movement control orders, we're all aware of the impact that this virus has had on our daily lives, our movements, quality of life, our work and leisure time, our well-being, and our mental health. And the fact that you're all here, I'm really glad to see you all here, and I hope you're all doing all right and coping. Those of you that are frontline teachers, look, really congratulations, hats off to you guys for working so hard with your students and trying to balance everything. You probably even have home lives, you may have your own families as well. Just hats off to all of you for just doing such a great job so far. Really well done. I just want to share something with you guys. There's an original article by Valerie Strauss in the Washington Post, and it's adapted from a list by Andy Hargraves of his top 3 tips, especially at the moment. And what he said is that this is an opportunity, not a disruption. Okay, we can research, we can share alternatives to worksheets with students. We can get them to do what they can with what they have at home, which was what I was the example I was giving with the heart-shaped card. Find ways to be creative with what can be done or learned or created or researched or studied or even explored at home. How many times do you go to the fridge? How many times does mommy go to the fridge in a day? Anything, whatever you've got with available resources without the need for extended screen time or device time, which I know is causing a lot of issues as well with, but mum needs the computer, but dad needs to do work at home. I can't get this, you know, we don't have enough even money to pay for Wi-Fi and things, and they've got to keep phones for, you know, emergencies rather than letting the kid do on-screen work. Consider the ways to engage students through online learning rather than on-screen learning. There's a difference between passive listening and watching and using online apps and tools to support the development of off-screen reports, posters, and other physical items or to show results of learning. Right now, we're doing on-screen learning. I'm talking and you're listening and maybe you're making some notes, and that's on-screen learning. Online learning would be more in-depth, or give them something and off they go and work on it without needing to always be face-to-face online. And also, especially with primary kids, encourage time for children to work and play. Both free play in their own space and structured play with family members, or if they're allowed to talk to people online. Board games, cards, Monopoly, Uno is a big one. We all love Uno in Malaysia. So doing those sort of things, or online with friends. There has to be a balance with our little ones of work and play. So remind the kids to do that as well for their own mental health. So here we are with after about 3 or more weeks of a nationwide MCO. But what we've seen with LeapEd in our meetings is that there has been a shift in attitudes, behaviors, understanding, and skills. Teachers are reporting that they are embracing the new ecosystem of technology and online platforms. You're now looking for ways to develop effective and authentic learning experiences for your students, rather than the usual round of revision worksheets and endless practice activities. There has to be something more. So what we're trying to do at LeapEd as an educational service provider, and just so you know that we're present in local government trust schools throughout Malaysia, and our two teams have been working to bring government and private and international schools together by hosting online professional learning communities like this one. And within these ongoing sessions with teachers, school leaders, and parents, there's been a growing air of positivity, of a bit of relief, as helpful methods and strategies are being shared. However, there's still challenges for that online learning. Like I just mentioned before, is affordability, access, those sort of things. I'm sure that you've all faced a lot of those issues yourselves with who you can get online, what the kids can and cannot do. In a recent survey by 100 Ed poll, 94 respondents believe that distance learning would increase inequality within education, especially for those in the B40 bracket. And I'm sure a lot of you do already teach children who are in the B40 bracket here in Malaysia. And you know full well what that's like and the challenges you're facing and what the children are facing. And those who don't have that infrastructure to participate as fully as expected are having all these problems. Necessity is the mother of invention, yet how do we ensure that during this period of instability, children still have access to education from you guys? How do we make a solution more than just a stopgap? So at LeapEd, this issue is in line with what we believe, and that, of course, is that every child deserves a great future. To that end, in today's webinar, my co-host Sherry and I will be sharing some top tips and strategies to keep your students' learning, especially primary kids, engaging, interesting, fun, and meaningful via project-based learning. And just a little idea of what it is on this slide. I think you can see that students gain knowledge and skills while working for an extended period of time. They can investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, and complex question, problem, or challenge. And so you have over here on this side, projects can be done alone. Project-based learning usually requires collaboration and a little bit of teacher guidance, which was what I was saying before in the heart-shaped activity, was give a brief, give some ideas. The normal project is about, oh, what did you finish, what's done? But project-based learning, we're about the process. How do you get there? What's the learning they're doing? What skills are they using in the meantime? A normal project, teacher-directed. PBL, student-directed, trying to get them to come up with what they can do. You can throw some ideas out there, but see what they can also do. All projects have the same goal. Well, there might be, especially with older primary students, they might be able to make choices that determine the outcome of what they're doing. Products are submitted to the teacher. Well, they can be presented to an authentic audience. Maybe you want to get a few students together to listen to each other's projects, or if you could get as many as possible together, or share them out, email them out, get the kids to see what they can do, ask their parents if they can send them out to their friends, even to share it with their parents. Make a video of, this is me sharing my thing with mum and dad in the living room, and this is what happened. It should be based in real world experiences or problems. and real learning should occur through doing the projects. So these are our sort of guiding ideas about project-based learning. And I just want you to keep those in mind as now I'm going to pass over to Sherry, and she's going to take over for the next part. And I just have to share with Sherry the hosting so she can take over. You ready, Sherry?
Yes, yes, yeah, I'm ready here.
You're ready, okay.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening. So I'll just make Sherry our host and then she can continue from here. Okay. All right. Sherry, all
Okay.
yours.
All right. Okay. So, okay, I'm the host right now. Okay. Okay, but why am I not in the highlight?
Oh, okay.
Okay, never mind. Okay, yes. I have to make myself the spotlight. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Sherry once again. And now, before we discuss further about PBL, I would like to share a little story of my twin nephews when they were really young. So, oh, sorry. So a few months back, we were having a family dinner, and then we were chatting about, our learning experience, what happened. They were young, and surprisingly, they told me that, they actually remember one of their most memorable learning experience, which they had with me, their fun aunt, which I would like to think I am, when they were 6 years old. So what happened was that they were having difficulty learning how to spell the word coconut. Okay, so I was teaching them how to spell coconut, but they were just having the most difficult time trying to spell it. So I changed the routine and asked them to, okay, let's go out of the room. And that time our house was under renovation. Okay, so we have this huge wall, okay, that we can actually draw anything on. Okay, of course I have to remind them this is under renovation. Normally, no, can't do. You can't do anything on that. So we use the wall, we draw a life-size coconut tree on the wall. And after that, okay, we went out to our backyard. We plucked 2 coconuts. Luckily, my mom had actually planted a coconut tree. So then I used the coconuts, taught them how to recognize parts of coconut before we cut them open. And we made some really delicious coconut jelly. And we also have some santan. So I asked them to dip their fingers in the santan and then, spell the word coconut on the wooden table. So, 20 years later, I almost have forgot about this incident, but yet my nephews, although, but it happened almost 2 decades ago, they still remember it as one of their most fun learning experience with me. So now, how about you? Let's take a moment to think, when and what was your most memorable learning experience? Be it as a student or as an adult. It doesn't need to be something academic, it can be life skills or something totally non-academic related, like learning how to cycle or drive or bake a cake with your mom or build a makeshift house with your brother, create a website with your colleague. Okay, let's just take a moment and think, when was the last time you actually had fun learning? Okay, I bet it is definitely not something like, oh, I remember that time when I have to complete 30 worksheets. Oh, it's so fun. Okay, so most of the time, that I think it will falls along the line like, okay, it is something that is fun because I can immediately apply what I learned. It is something that I can use to solve real life problems. It is something because that is fun because I enjoy learning with a person. That all these actually are the characteristics of memorable learning experience that we always associate with experiential learning or project-based learning. And this is actually what we want to talk about today. How do we actually make learning fun, even though we are, in MCO right now, okay, remotely using PBL. Okay, so I believe that now with the school closed due to COVID-19, you are finding all ways to keep learning going remotely for your students. Okay, and you're conducting Zoom meetings, email, Google Docs, and a lot more if your students have the technology, okay, in internet access. But when they don't, actually it is still possible for students to do PBL at home. Well, now we have a lot of teachers telling us connectivity is an issue. How do we actually conduct Zoom classrooms or even Google Classroom when our students don't even have the connectivity? Okay, so PBL actually, now this is the answer, it comes to your rescue. We can actually use PBL because students do not need to stay on screen all the time to actually learn something at home. In fact, this is the best time for them to use PBL because they can actually conduct projects at home, they can do it with their siblings, they can do it with their parents. Okay, so in a short while, I'm going to show you some examples of simple PBL that we can actually conduct in at home. Okay, and the best way, and then the beauty of it is we can involve parents to help us, okay, to engage their kids in authentic learning and build useful skills. In fact, I think parents will be grateful, okay, because I think they wouldn't want their students to, their children to stay on screen all the time. They will appreciate that, there are times that our kids stay away from screen and keeps them active, okay, as PBL can do. So projects actually are a great way to keep students engaged in authentic learning, okay, and build useful skills. Now, okay, and it is actually a good time for family to do things together as well. Okay, so conversely, projects can be a good opportunity for kids to do things independently, and I believe that's what the family needs during this long confinement time in the same space. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen with you, okay, and I'm going to share some of the ideas of PBL before we discuss further about PBL. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, great. Okay, now this is actually one example, okay, of PBL. Now, I noticed from the poll just now that majority of you actually have some experience, conducting PBL with your students, so that is good. So for your information, LeapEd, okay, we actually now, in this MCO period, we actually come up with these bright ideas that we can actually show with teachers, okay? Some of our colleagues in LeapEd actually recently come up with these bright ideas that we can share with teachers and even parents at home to use. Yes, even parents. So for your information, we have set up a website and a Telegram group to house all these free tools, resources, and ideas that we update daily. And we call them LeapEd Bright Ideas. So don't worry, I will share more with you further about this later. Now let's have a look at this sample here. Okay, this is actually a project that can be used for English, maths, or even science subject. Okay, for this short project, now students are asked to help their parents to plan their meals for a week for the entire family. They have to take balanced diet into consideration, recognizing different food group, and you can adjust the project based on your student's level. Now, to make it more challenging, you can even ask them to, calculate meal budget or count calories. Isn't it good? Yeah, okay. So next one. Okay, the next one, okay, this one is actually a project that asks students to create strong passwords. Now with this MCO, I know that children are spending even more time on their screens, and we have to ensure that they are really aware of the digital security. So this project actually is very relevant to their situation right now, where students learn how to create strong password using passphrase. And to make it more challenging, you can actually even ask students to propose other ways to improve their security online and make a presentation about it. So that is, you are the decision maker. You can actually you can adjust the level of difficulty based on your student's level. You can actually make it as simple as a 5-minute project. You can make it as long as a 1-day project, 3 days, 5 days, up to you. That is really your discretion. Okay, next one. Okay, this one here is a fake news detective. Okay, so yeah, it seems like recently there are a lot of people who are spreading fake news about COVID-19. So this is another interesting project you can ask your students to do at home. Because fake news detective, okay, they can do this with their family members. Okay, we actually list out some of the questions that they can use to identify fake news, and they can actually use this with their siblings. They can actually do this with their parents as well. Okay, and if you want to make it more challenging, you can even ask students to propose other ways to improve their security online and make a presentation about it. Isn't it great? Okay, and last one that I want to show you is this public service announcement that, yep, you can actually ask students to make a public service announcement that is relevant to them. The key here is actually to ask them to, you know, to choose a topic that they like. Choose a topic that is relevant to them at this moment. For example, you can talk about COVID-19, talk about social distancing, or talk about how to manage the anxiety right now, coping out at home. Okay, there are actually many ideas online that you can get, but most important, I think we have to keep the ideas, to keep the project relevant to our students. Okay, and in my own experience, I actually get a lot of ideas to do PBL, okay, at home. You know, being cooped up at home with limited kitchen resources, that actually forced me to think more creatively, to substitute things that I don't have at home. Okay, for example, the other day I need to make a cake, but I don't have flour, I don't have butter. So I have to think of how to substitute things at home. How do I, with these limited resources that I have, but yet I still want to eat a cake. Okay, so this can be a project as well for your kids, for your students. You can ask them, you know, it's like you can help out with your parents at home. Look around you. What are the things that you want to have right now, but you can't because you can't go out and buy them? Okay, and you can ask them, you know, to actually find substitute for the things. Like if you want to if you need glue right now, how are you going to make a glue at home? You know, this can be some simple science projects that you can do as well. So PBL really doesn't need to be something that is complicated. It can be something really simple. Okay, yes. So now let's move on. I would like to, I would like to discuss more on how to, what's your role? What is your role in PBL? So we have looked at some samples. So now let's look at your role. Okay, so most importantly, there are three main roles for teachers in PBL. First is you have to collaborate. You have to collaborate with other teachers, okay, cross-curricular, math, science, English, arts, music, movement, okay, etc. All right, to come up with a project, okay? Or you can also collaborate with parents during this MCL period, okay? Let parents and caregiver knows that what you are going to do to support students' work on projects, and make sure that they know how to communicate with you and support their children's learning at home, okay? And number two, okay, you have to realize that now we are not the source of all knowledge, okay? We are not in the traditional classroom right now, okay? So your role is mainly a coach to guide students, to facilitate their learning. It is less on traditional teaching and is more actually on guiding students, evaluating students' work, give them feedback, and monitor their progress. Okay, so less teaching, it is more to facilitating. Okay, the most important thing about PBL is that we have to give constant and immediate feedback to our students. Okay, and don't expect students to be effective problem solvers right away, since learning to solve problems is one of the main goals of PBL. So students need time to learn how to solve problems. Okay, and your role is very important by guiding your students, by asking them questions. Okay, so another main role that you have to play is you have to ask them the right questions, the essential questions that help them to solve problems. Okay, guide them to the answers, to the answers that you want. Okay, all right. So so as students, a teacher can serve. You can serve as a model problem solver. Your students can get better at problem solving, okay, through time, and you have to model good planning as well. You have to guide students on how to plan their learning and to organize all of the information they have gathered in order to share with others. Okay, all right. So I know the next question that you have in mind right now is that, but how do I get started? How do I get started with PBL? Okay, yeah, you said it is simple, it can be complicated, but how do we get started? What is the first step? Okay, so here I've compiled, these are the steps that I always use with my students when I ask them to do PBL, and these are just very, very simple 5-step skills. Okay, 5 steps, how to get started with PBL. Okay, so there are 5 steps. Number 1, Okay, I mean, if you're just beginning with project-based learning, I know you'll be wondering on how to get started, and then how do you make sure that you organize? Okay, so I will stress, okay, one thing that I would like to stress over time is don't go crazy. Okay, don't go crazy. It is easy to go too big when you first start with a PBL. And I heard from many teachers that who are new to PBL that a large 8-week integrated project, that is a mistake. Okay, it is difficult to keep momentum, and students often grew tired of the project itself. So teachers and students both need to consider their own scaffolds and a gradual release for more long-term and complex PBL projects. Okay, so here are a few things. Okay, sometimes, you know, students lost interest, not because they are not interested with the topic. Sometimes it is actually the time frame of the project itself, or the sheer size of the project is too long, it's too challenging, it put them off. Okay, so it is actually important that we as teachers down to chewable size bite and give them clear step-by-step guidelines on how to get started. And here on the slide, I list out 5 steps to get started with PBL. Okay, so number 1, always start with a real-world problem and set the essential questions. Okay, so take a real-world topic and begin with an in-depth investigation based on your question on an authentic situation or a topic, like what is happening at home right now, okay, in your community. Select a question about an issue that students will believe that by answering, they are having an impact on, okay, make it relevant for them. The question should be a now question. It's a question that has meaning in your student's life, okay. Now, I know that, well, the most relevant topic to all of us right now is COVID-19, social distancing, studying online, screen time, cabin fever, or how to keep fit at home. Otherwise, after MCO, everyone will be like, what, gain 10 pounds? Okay, so choose a topic that is relevant. Help students to get started by giving them some options, but not too many. Okay, so take their interest into consideration. That's the key to get them engaged. Okay, take the meal planning, for example, just now. If your students are not interested in counting calories, okay, they're not interested in planning meals, well, you can change it to something that interests them. For example, like if you know that they are interested with football, then you can actually ask them to think of, you know, how much does it need for them to organize a football match in their school, or plan a party after MCO, okay, plan the food, plan the budget, plan the invitation list. Okay, so all of these actually are mini projects that you can actually do with your students. All right. Okay, now number 2, design a plan for the project. Okay, so when designing the project, it is essential that you have in mind which content standards will be addressed. Okay, involve the students in your planning. They will feel ownership of the project when they are actively involved in decision making. And here are some questions to consider as you prepare the project, like how could the project and information be presented? Like, do you want them to use posters, slide presentations, videos, reports, a product? Give students a short menu of how they want to present their product. Okay, this is actually a type of differentiation, which I will mention again later. Okay, so, and what kind of resources will your students need to work on their projects? Give them some useful links and access to quality research material, because we don't want our students to go crazy and, you know, they do not know where to begin as well. Okay, so it will be good if you give some useful links for them to get started with. Okay, and what kind of formats will work with the questions or problem that you're dealing with? Okay, or what will the time frame be like? How long the project will take? 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, or longer time? Okay, so these are the things that you need to plan for the project. And finally, though this hopefully goes without saying, but be sure to provide students with criteria for assessment so that they understand how to best complete their project. You know, how will the learning be assessed? Okay, so it'll be good to share the rubric of assessment from the beginning. Okay, so that's step 2. Now, step 3, create a schedule. Okay, so design a timeline for the project. Okay, realize that changes to the project to the schedule might happen. Okay, but be flexible. Help the students realize that a time will come when they need to finalize their thoughts, their findings, and evaluations. Okay, consider these issues when creating a schedule, like how many days would it be devoted to the project. Help students who may not perceive time limits, set benchmarks, and give them direction for managing their time. Okay, so while we say that we want to be flexible during this time, yeah, but you also need to make sure that your students, okay, manage their time and know how to schedule their tasks. So some of the students, I think you might need to remind them of the timeline. You might need to help them to set deadlines, okay? And you can actually record an instruction video and send it to students so that they can access it offline as well. So that is the advantage of PBL as compared to traditional lessons, that students have the flexibility to arrange their time, especially if there are connectivity issues or if they have to share a device at home, okay? All right, and number 4, monitor the students and the progress of the project. So most often than not, PBL involves and encourages group work. And if and whenever possible, I think it will be good for students to work in pair if they have the connectivity bandwidth. If not, individual work is acceptable during this period. Okay, so teach students how to work collaboratively or individually. Designate fluid roles for each group members. Have them choose their primary roles, but assume responsibility and interactivity for all group members. Then remind them that every part of the process belongs to each individual and needs each student's total involvement. So get students to submit their work stage by stage. Provide them feedback immediately. This is actually the most important part of monitoring students' progress. You have to provide them feedback. Okay, otherwise students will be lost. They'll be like, okay, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? So now that we do not have the traditional classes all the time, okay, your main role actually is more to guiding students, look at their work, and then give them feedback timely, okay? And give students, assess the process by creating rubrics, give them feedback based on the rubrics so that students know what is expected of them. When students know what is expected of them, most of the time, learning become clearer to them and they'll be more engaged. Okay, and last step is demo time. Okay, is when they do the presentation. Okay, assess, and you can do the assessment. So regardless of the topic, it's always a good idea for students to present their final product to the rest of the class virtually, as for now. And this gives them a chance to practice the oral presentation, their listening skills, okay, all the soft skills, right? And remind them how to be a good audience ahead of time and go over some of the critical presentation skills with them. Okay, think of how you want to assess your students' work. What are the rubrics that you want? Okay, create a checklist. And whenever possible, give the students opportunity to conduct peer and self-evaluation as well, or self-assessment. After all, reflection is a key of learning. Okay, so how do we expect our students to synthesize new knowledge if they are not given time to reflect on what they have discovered? Okay, so allow for individual reflections such as journaling, answering, okay, journaling, and as well as group reflection and discussion. For example, validate what students have learned and make suggestions for improvement. Ask them to share their feelings and experience, discuss what worked, what did not work. Okay, discuss what needs to be changed, and share ideas that will lead to new questions and new projects. Okay, so these are the 5 steps to get started. Start with a real problem, design the project, design the plan, create a schedule, monitor students' progress, and get your students to do the presentation and reflect on their learning using rubric. Okay, right? Everyone okay? Okay, all right, great. Now let's move on to the next, okay, slides. Okay, challenges. Okay, I know that, okay, we talk about steps now, we talk about examples, okay, and let's come to reality. Challenges for PBL. I know a lot of teachers come and tell me that, oh, it is so hard to conduct PBL because students just don't want to work with each other, they are not engaged, they're not used to active learning, and some of them, they don't even have, enough device because like for now they have to share device at home with their parents or even with their siblings. Okay, so these are the most common PBL challenges that we heard from teachers. And for this, okay, we have come up with a few strategies. Okay, we have come up with a few strategies, and I'd like to share these strategies with you. There are 5 of them as well. Okay, and first of all is manage your expectations. Okay, manage your expectations. We're actually creating new normal. Okay, we don't have to attend classes every day. We don't have classes like usual, like when teacher, because now we're, okay, admit it, we're actually all overwhelmed, okay, with all these technology, screen learning, and a lot of them actually having digital fatigue. Okay, so set PBL and let the students take on the challenge. Okay, a lot of you are caretakers too. So now that you are suddenly thrown into a situation of playing multiple roles at the same time during this MCO, I believe that even us, we as adults, are overwhelmed by the sudden changes and struggling to keep teaching ongoing. So this is not a normal time. So do expect that classes can be conducted using the usual way. Okay, so don't stress yourself for conducting Zoom or Google Classroom all the time. Okay, 6 periods a day. So instead of trying to replicate a classroom, let's embrace the opportunity to get out from under, some of these downsides that are holding some kids back. So PBL words here. Remember, learning doesn't just happen on screen. The advantage of PBL is that students can still work and learn. Give them weekly assignment instead of daily lessons. Give them weekly assignments. Okay, but we will still support them daily. Okay. You can give them feedback daily, you can guide and support the learning process and invest your time more meaningfully. So not all, as both mentioned just now, not all online learning is screen learning, and not all distance learning needs to be online. Okay, and number 2, let students take the autonomy. Okay, active and independent learning. Actually, even the youngest one can try to learn how to be independent. Okay, even if it is making their beds or other life skills and tasks. It just depends on what are the tasks that we're giving our students, okay, and how to get them interested, how to get them take the autonomy. Okay, one of the skills is that one of the questions I always ask my students is, remember the time when we always say, if I have time, I want to learn how to. How many of you here, okay, even us as adults, how many of you here actually always say, if I have time, if I have time, I would like to learn to do this. I would like to learn to do that. Okay, people, this is actually the time now. Now is the time for you to learn something that you have always wanted to learn. Okay, and same goes to our students. Ask your students, what is the one thing that you have always wanted to learn? What is the one thing that you have always wanted to learn, but you can't do it in class because you don't have time, because there are just too many curriculum activities, there's too many tuition class, there's just too many homework. Okay, so now during this period actually is the best time for our students to take the autonomy and learn something that they really want to learn. And our role as a teacher is to ask them, what is the one thing that you really want to learn right now? And this could be the chance for you to engage students in wider learning. Okay, like make things, play a musical instrument, pick up a language, create TikTok, construct a robot from Lego, or help parents fix things in their house. In other words, for these kids, this could now be a time for more learning rather than less. Okay, so at the end of this MCO, okay, then they can actually share with their friends. So, oh, you know what? I've learned how to bake with rice cooker. I've learned a new language, okay? And but not getting on to another level of playing video games. That is not what we want them to do, okay? Or starting another interest while they have a time will not only occupy them now, but it will impress their friends later. Okay, so next, differentiation. Differentiation. Okay, so one of the ways for us to actually engage our students and tailor to their needs is differentiation. So that is another key benefit of using PBL which educators can differentiate instruction, assessment. Okay, you can differentiate the content, the process. Okay, and study shows offering choice in the classroom increases engagement and motivation. So that is the advantage of PBL, that instead of asking students to just come up with one product, for example, writing or reports, you can actually give them a short menu of the things that you want them to produce. Okay, for the same project, every student can come up with different products. Okay, some they can produce videos, some they can produce an audio or posters. Okay, they can actually use different ways, okay, to express the result or to share the result with their friends or with you. Okay, and number 4, give students the flexibility and choice. Okay, set us at their own pace. Okay, set individual deadlines to make it easier for them to schedule device use at home. Okay, in our highly structured and overscheduled school systems, many children simply follow along the path created and enforced by teachers and parents. So now that when these kids get to high regulated environment, high school when these kids go to high school or college, they often lack the skills required for them to thrive in more self-regulated environment. So let's use this time to help them learn and refine the ability to organize the plan, to feel more comfortable with autonomy, and to practice self-regulation. Okay, so but planning is the key here. So sit down with your students, plan the time with them, give them the flexibility to complete their work on their own schedule. Okay, because instead of a daily assignments, you can sometimes give them weekly assignments. Okay, but you actually have to break them in chunk size and tell them, you can start with smaller chunks, but you have to give me the introduction by Monday, body paragraphs by Wednesday, etc. Okay, so an increased degree of responsibility and choice to be given to students. It gives them the chance to learn about how they best function and initiate discussions with you. All right. And lastly is to activate critical thinking skills and hearts. All right, so PBL is a teaching method in which real-world problems are used as the vehicle to promote student learning of concepts and results as opposed to direct presentation of facts and concepts. So allowing a certain freedom for students to focus on personalized approaches to working on their chosen problems will actually result in heightened sense of ownership of the problems. And that is actually the way we get our students engaged, because they are solving real world problems, and that will allow them to actually be more interested. And depending on their level, you can actually make it more challenging by structuring non-Googleable driving questions. Okay, meaning you can actually set questions that does not yield a simple, straightforward Google answers. All right. For example, you compare these questions with which yields more critical thinking. Okay, is fast food healthy? Or how far does your McDonald's burger travel to reach your plate? Okay, so there are 2 questions here. If you want to talk about fast food, okay, you don't ask simple question like, is fast food healthy? Now that you can actually, Google it, and they will tell you a lot of disadvantages of fast food. But instead of asking straightforward question, you can actually get students to think by asking them, how far does your McDonald's burger travel to reach your plate? So that involves a lot of thinking, a lot of research, a lot of calculation. They talk about carbon footprint. Okay, so these are actually questions that get students to think critically, and it is interesting as well. Okay, or how many cheeseburgers do you need to eat in order for you to swim from Johor to Singapore? That is actually questions that get students to think. Okay, now if I need to swim from Johor to Singapore, okay, how much energy do I need? How much energy do I need? And how much energy does a burger contain? Okay, so these are some critical thinking questions that get students to think, and well, there it is. You have a project for them to conduct. Okay, so these are solutions. These are some of the solutions for PBL to get students more engaged, to get students, to collaborate with each other, to activate their learning, and also, well, since it is most of the time off screen, then they can actually manage their ID by sharing with their siblings or parents. Okay, so to conclude, these are the strategies that we have discussed just now. Okay, these are the strategies that we discussed just now. So PBL is actually important because we want to use just-in-time approach, meaning use real world problems. Okay, bite-sized chunks means we have to break it down. Okay, we break it down to manageable chunks. We plan our time. We tell our students, okay, what are the process, okay, of researching, and what do they need to hand in, okay, based on the schedule that you set with them. And you can actually use digital tools to help you to manage your students' progress as well. Like some of you use Edmodo and some of you use Wabi Sabi. Okay, so later maybe you can share with us as well, like what are the digital tools that you are using right now to help you to keep track of your students' progress, and give timely feedback. Okay, give timely feedback to your students. And lastly, okay, just now we mentioned about group assessment. Okay, now group assessment or group work. Now group work is important, but sometimes, you know, there are a lot of free riders. Okay, so my suggestion is you can give them group work, but give them individual assessment. This is one of the ways for you to get students engaged as well. Okay, so I think that's all for PBL, okay, from on my side. Okay, and now I think, yep, it is time for Q&A. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask me and Bo?
You can write your questions in the chat box below, and we'll do our best to answer those as quickly as we can. While you're thinking of questions to put down there to ask us about PBL, I'm going to put down in the chat room to everybody this is the link to go to the session evaluation form online. If you can fill that out once we're done, if you can see that in the chat room. It'll also be in the email that we send out at the end. And we would love to hear back from you. Just also while we're waiting, if with your questions, if you've got any, now that we've got this extended MCO, how likely are you to develop PBL, project-based learning, with your students? Give me a, how likely are you? Sort of likely, are you really likely? Yes, no, You can give me, again, in the chat room, any response to that one. Okay, got some questions coming in. Good. How do we assess students' progress remotely? How do we ensure that it's 100% student works and not parents? How do we assess and be fair in our assessment for PBL? All right, well, as for the assessment side, I think Sherry covered that one. So if you set a simple rubric, question and answer, it's like, have you got such and such in this? Have you got sure that, are you sure you've put in into your work? So it's some sort of simple rubric. I'm just typing this out. So you set a simple rubric with little questions about what would be expected to be seen in the final product. Okay, I'm typing very fast. So in the bright ideas, Sherry, do you have any of the bright ideas with you on your slides?
Yes, here.
Can you show some of our bright ideas that we've been sending out?
Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen. Do you have the bright ideas that maybe has the rubric in it? There was one or two, or that gives you some ideas of how to assess those. That would be good to share. Okay, how do we recommend combining literacy and numeracy? Well, I mean, the simple idea I had of the heart card, maybe you say, well, I need it to be 2 times bigger, 3 times bigger. How do you measure something? How do you use things? A ruler? Can it be a circle instead? How would you make a circle? What size is your circle? So you, and also writing things in it. So literacy and numeracy, try to find real world things they've got to solve. They've got to also, while they're looking at something like some of the suggestions Sherry had, that what are you writing down as your report? What are you keeping a track of as you go? What are you putting down as your observations as you do something?
Yeah, I mean, like the way to combine literacy and numeracy, it is just like an example for the meal plan just now. You can actually ask students to prepare a meal. Okay, you can ask them to write down the menu, and you actually and when you ask them to calculate, to count calories, that is already actually, you know, that is numeracy. Okay, or how to count the budget for the meal. Okay, yeah. So let's say you want them to actually only have 10 ringgit for a meal. Okay, so what are the things that you can buy? What are the things that you can actually prepare for the meal? Yeah, so I think that is one of the ways that you can actually combine maths and language subject together. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Haley, for sharing some more. Haley is sharing some more of our bright ideas in the side there, so that you can all download those and have a look and see what some of our thoughts are on that. And yes, as Haley said, there's success criteria. Now, the other question there, that's going to be a tough one. UPSR, complete the syllabus. I mean, I can use PBL for lower primary, but those who are sitting for public exams and certain checkpoints, syllabus is our greater challenge. Well, Shantini. Well, actually, anybody out there also working with UPSR students who may have a solution for Shantini? Has anyone else faced this, and what are we doing? What are you guys doing out there for your UPSR students? Okay, thanks, Haley, putting some more there. If we can have, anybody wants to type something in, that I'm sure it's the older students in the government schools, right? The UPSR. They're not talking little ones, it's the upper primary ones. So complete the syllabus. Now, how are you getting, Shantini, how are you getting things out to your students for UPSR?
Okay, like for example, I'm teaching 2 different levels, Junior 5 and Junior 6. Junior 5, yes, we are doing PBL based work. I'll give them presentations, and you know, we do that. But for Year 6, it's impossible because we have to complete the syllabus, and it has to be like a, you know, essay writing for a day. The next day is a reading comprehension. So it's like you can't bring them out from that loop yet. It's like you still have to follow the, you know, the traditional method of teaching them in class. So
can I interject here 1 second? I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting you. But I understand what you're saying about traditional method, but how about if you had to write an essay about a real world problem? Does that solve? You can use project-based learning to enhance skills that you're trying to get through on this syllabus, right? So writing stories can hit some of the objectives from the curriculum. I mean, it's not perfect, and I think that there is a fine line, but I certainly think with writing, I know they have to write like short 200-word or 400-word abstracts for things. Can you make the theme of that something that is project-based or relevant, and then therefore increase their engagement? Because the feedback we're seeing is that the worksheets that are being sent home, kids aren't engaging with. So they're not learning a great deal from that point of view. So if there was a way to try and increase the engagement but keep the skills from the curriculum, is that a way that could work?
probably there would be.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Haley said. For example, like in UPSR, they have to write a formal letter. Okay, sometimes they have to make a request, or sometimes they actually have to file a complaint. So we can actually, what PBL can help is that we actually just need to emphasize on the real world problems, and that will actually make it more relevant to our students using the format that you learn in class. Okay, but now you have to find a real problem in your community right now. For example, water disruption. Okay, yeah, or now, like people in your area, they do not practice social distancing. So what can you do about it? How do you actually make sure that people do that? So they can actually put that in the formal letter format, which are just using real world problems. So I think it is actually possible. We just need to be selective with the topics that we want, okay, to do PBL with the UPSR unit.
All right.
And just to also add on to that, Sherry showed the fake news detective earlier as an example. Now, I wrote the fake news detective. I'm a history teacher. I'm an GCSE history teacher. Now, the questions on fake news detective are actually source evaluation questions from IGCSE. So I've used the curriculum from the IGCSE syllabus, which is look at a source, who wrote it, why was it written, do you notice any abnormalities about it, is there anything odd? Those actually are included on the history syllabus. So even though I've related it to our current COVID-19 fake news crisis, if kids did that activity, the skills that they develop will be absolutely relevant for their IGCSE. So it's about trying to find those skills and making it relevant to the situation we're in.
Okay, great.
Unmute. Any other questions that we have before we just finish off? Thank you, Sheila, for your suggestions on there. And to, who's that? To Lassie as well. Okay, thanks to Lassie for your response there that you've done. Thank you so much for that. To get them to document their experiment and write down the process and outcomes as well. That's a great idea. Thank you. I love that one. Was it from Sheila there? Is it that to, like Haley's saying, use it for the real world context? There's some more coming in from Haley, some more bright ideas coming in. We do have a Telegram group, which is LeapEd Bright Ideas, and you can search for that. As Haley said to some of us the other day, there's now over 500 teachers and educators and school leaders on that group with us, and we'd love, if you're not on the group yet, we'd love to have you there and to share that. That's where Haley is sharing every day a daily top tip of our bright ideas. We'd love to have all of you there. And any other questions from anybody for the moment? Okay, thank you for sharing those links, Haley. That's lovely. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Anything else?
I think we're running out of time, actually, guys.
No.
No. we've already run like 5 minutes over what we intended. So I think I'm going to step in and stop Sherry and Bo in their tracks now. I want to thank Sherry and Bo. From my point of view, I found it incredibly engaging. So thank you very much for sharing with us. If you online is incredibly difficult to get any sort of feedback. So if you did appreciate Sherry and Bo's work today, please do fill in the feedback form so that we can use what you've said and thing. And obviously I would like to say a personal thank you to Bo and Sherry and give them a clap. And if you enjoyed today's session, if you could do that too. It's hard sitting in front of a computer screen. You don't know what you're saying is making any sense. So thank you very much. I will share the link for the, or Bo will share the link for the feedback form in an email.
Yep, and an email, yes.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to finish this meeting. I'm not going to chuck you out, but we're done for the day. So if you could leave the meeting at your convenience, and thank you very much for coming today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thank you. Good luck. Keep going.
Thank you.
Love. Thank you.